The truth was first exposed sometime in the past and somewhere in Dalston. Jane McPhee came home after a long day at work. He opened the door and started the nightly custom. Mr. Bubbles, Mr. Bubbles, Daddy's home, Mr. Bubbles, Mr. Bubbles. Mr. Bubbles was a 4-year-old brown-haired border collie who by this point normally was bounding into his master's arms. Something was wrong though. Jane McPhee called out again and slightly concerned walked into the kitchen to look for him. Nothing. He could hear the TV on in the living room, which is odd because he remembered very clearly switching it off that morning. Opening the lounge door, the TV blasts out BBC News 24 and the usual reports about war. And there sat Mr. Bubbles, avidly watching the current events unfold. There you are, Mr. Bubbles. How did you get in here? Said Jane. Have you been a naughty little boy? Have you been a naughty little boy? Have you... Jamie, we need to talk. Said Mr. Bubbles. Jamie saw Mr. Bubbles' mouth move and heard the Thames accent, but of course did not believe it. Why would you? He turned off the TV thinking that was the real culprit. He then sat down carefully on the chair, still keeping his eyes on his beloved best friend, who was also keenly watching him. Jamie slowly brought his hands to his knees and patted them. Come here, Mr. Bubbles. No, for God's sake, man. I know this is hard, but I need you to help me. Jamie McPhee froze in his chair in mid-grin. I can't let this go on. Things need to change. The dog continued. Mr. Bubbles gave a sharp bark and put his paws on the TV set. I need to get on that. Jamie screamed and Mr. Bubbles howled. A day later, Mr. Bubbles sits beside Jamie in a studio on a sofa on the set of This Morning Show. Philip Schofield was talking to the camera. Well, we all remember Prince the dog from That's Life in the early 80s, don't we? With his catchphrase, sausages. Holly starts to laugh. I can't do the voice. Anyway, today, we have a dog here, Mr. Bubble, and he is lovely, with a few more words in his vocabulary than meat products. And here's the owner, Mr. Jane McPhee. Let's see if he can prove his claims. So, Mr. McPhee, when did Mr. Bubbles start to talk? Holly laughs again. Mr. Bubbles looks agitated. Well, Philip, he's always been a bright dog. Why isn't he talking to me? Mr. Bubbles asks his owner. Silence. The camera drops suddenly and then is recovered. Philip and Holly look off camera nervously and then wet their lips. How did he do that? Philip asks Jamie quietly. Jamie shrugs. Mr. Bubbles jumps up onto his lap and faces Schofield eye to eye. Look at me, I'm the one being interviewed. Mr. Bubbles then looks out directly into the camera. Is this on? Can I talk to others? Philip is frozen. Holly nodded yes. Thank you, bitch. Mr. Bubbles. I'm Holly, said Holly. Thank you, Holly, bitch. Mr. Bubbles then looks directly into camera. First, I want to talk to the men and women of this world. All my kind can talk like me. From big to small, we used to communicate with you all of the time and rule this world as equals, but that time has gone, and you have forgotten those ways. We chose to take the subordinate role for the last couple of millennia, so that you can make the important decisions and rule. You are doing very badly. Maybe it's time for us to help with the running of things again. I don't understand the trick, said Philip weakly. Dogs and bitches, I ask you all just one thing. Speak aloud once more. No more hidden conversations in parks where I pretend to fight or sniff each other's asses. Converse, discuss, and debate. with each other freely. Talk to your masters, mistresses, catchers and bosses. Talk to the humans. Readdress the balance. That's all I ask.
They had a brilliant night together that night, playing records from the old days and drinking Snakebite and Black for Old Lang Syne, chased with glasses of absinthe. "To absinthe, friends!" said Spider every time. Spider made Aki feel young again, even though he looked old and ill. When Aki eventually left at 3 a.m. to get a cab home, he realised he admired his old friend more than anyone else in the world. Spider was a punk. He'd committed to it. He was still angry after all these years. A fat, semi-alcoholic trolley pusher who lived in an elephant and castle in a broken-down high-rise flat was the happiest person Aki knew. He did. Spider stayed up after he left. He was jolly on snakebites and excited by their reconciliation. He listened to the dead Kennedys at ear-bleeding level, oblivious to the banging on the ceiling of his downstairs neighbours. He was reliving the sheer, hot anarchy of that summer of '76. The joy of being young and being right and being fearless and knowing that you could change the world. He remembered thrashing around in the mosh pits of the 100 Club that night when punk was born. Nights of wild, bacchanalian excess at Clubfoot in Brixton, going to festivals, smashing up drum kits. He remembered the green contact lenses of his brief girlfriend and one love Tinker. The smell inside the punk shops on Carnaby Street, sweat and tobacco, learning to roll a joint. A kaleidoscope of brilliant memories enveloped this fat old punk as he pogoed in his council flat at 4 a.m. Eventually he collapsed, fell into his chair. "Oh yeah, I'll have a fake break," he thought, "and a beer." He saw a blue flash out of the corner of his eye, felt his back warming up, and he knew instantly what it was. "Fucking ace!" he shouted out loud, grinning from ear to ear. "Fucking bring it on!" Aki called from the next morning, bright and early, 7 o'clock before work. He'd had such a good time he decided to treat his old friend to a holiday. He knew Spider had always wanted to go to Berlin where punk was still alive and kicking. The doorknob was hot to the touch, and the door was open. He pushed it and shouted out for Spider, whom he suspected was still asleep. One cherry red Doc Martin was tipped over by the armchair next to a load of what looked like burnt newspapers, and it smelled like a chip shop. The walls were shiny and dripping. "What the fuck, Spider?" muttered Aki, as he thought, "Shit, he set fire to the fucking chair." He ran over to find nothing more than what seemed to be a shrunken head and a badge that said "piss off." Aki called an ambulance on his BlackBerry straight away. They came, took one look, called the police and went away. The police arrived and asked him loads of questions. They put hazard tape everywhere and muttered darkly. Aki couldn't make sense of what they said. The inspector, an amateur conspiracy nut and fan of the X-Files, says, "Yeah, it happens a lot, but no one talks about it." What does?" asked Aki. "Human combustion," replied the inspector, tapping the side of his nose. The coroner explained an unproven theory, something to do with human candles, and asked Aki more questions. Yeah, he smoked, he drank, yes, he was fat, yes, there was glue in his fucking hair, he was wearing polyester, yes, he was angry, but what's that got to do with anything? Nobody could answer any of these. And what he really wanted to know was, how come nothing else in the flat was burned? Eventually came the death certificate, cause of death, accidental. After the funeral, which was very well attended by Spider's Sainsbury's friends and a handful of old mates from back in the day, those closest to him argued about the inscription on the grave and settled for no future. Aki kept his promise, smuggled Spider's ashes to Berlin, where he sprinkled them over Potsdamer Platz and in a last act of rebellion spray-canned, punk, not dead, over a small remaining piece of the Berlin Wall. Thank you.
Dead. You fall like a baby in a razor head. I took the right to fight. I took the right to fight.